Hello and welcome to our lesson on the Crusades, where we're going to talk about how pilgrimage and wars came together for one of the greatest conflicts in the Middle Ages. We have to look at what caused this, though. There were many different pieces leading to the Crusades, and the goal was not necessarily the same as what the outcome was. We're going to explore these relationships. Well, firstly, if we look at Europe in the Middle Ages, it was a mishmash of different kingdoms, all in different states. What was left of the Roman Empire was only in the east. Very few kingdoms remained. While the rest of Europe broke up, and with all this happening, there was lots of conflict. People got into fights with each other, and these wars spread across Europe, and all the raiding and pillaging, people had enough. Well, if to add insult to injury, the Eastern Empire was being invaded by the Turks. The Muslims of Asia Minor were coming in, and the emperor couldn't hold them off anymore, so he called to the Pope for help. And this was a chance to unite Christendom again, because the eastern side wasn't really talking to the west. That's a story for another time, though. So the call for crusade was put out. On November 27th of 1095, Pope Urban II called for the defeat of the Turks and the return of the Holy Land to the Christians. His call united that chaotic Europe. People let go of these old conflicts and began to come together again. They all wanted to go east to find the Holy Land. Well, here's your first shout out. I want you to pause the video and think for a moment. What were some of the issues in Europe before the Crusades? Well, if you talked about kingdoms at war, you'd be correct. If you talked about knights pillaging other people, you'd be correct. And of course, the Eastern Empire was in a mess. Well, why did people get into this? Well, being a soldier of faith was a big deal. Crusaders could make up for their sins. Lords and knights and peasants all took up the cause. You could get straight into heaven by doing this. Didn't matter what your past was, it was a free ticket. So, on many journeys and many crusades, everyone set off to change the world. However, the outcome wasn't what we thought. Although there were some good things that came out of this, European and Muslim contact created a lot of advances in trade. Europeans learned about sailing, and they learned about the magnetic compass and navigation. We also learned about silk and many other different things, such as literature, art, and spices. And of course, trade grew throughout that entire area. And merchants came, which eventually changed the economics of Europe. Also, with the Crusades, the Catholic Church grew in power and significance. And after the Crusades, there was increased interest in travel and spreading ideas, which laid the roots for the Renaissance. But the negative side, Muslims and Jews were persecuted greatly. Along the way, Crusaders would encounter villages, and they would attack and persecute people who were non-Christians. They saw it as a right to do that. It was a holy cause, which led to the plundering of wealth. Jewish communities who happened to just be along the way were sacked, and everything they had of value was taken away, seeding the stage for future conflicts. And of course, the destruction of history. Many libraries and other valuable things preserved by the Muslims in the Holy Land were destroyed by Crusaders rampaging through the town. So I want you to stop here and think for your homework. What were some causes and consequences of the Crusades?